What's going on, everybody? Feder here from 3D Print SOS. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to take a look at this brand new Raspberry Pi Zero 2. And this little guy is 5 times faster than the original Raspberry Pi Zero, which is really useful for something like OctoPrint. The original Raspberry Pi Zero was capable of running OctoPrint, but it struggled if you do any kind of plugins or add a camera to it. This being 5 times faster for only 15 bucks definitely opens up a lot of doors. And I've tested it already, and I'm happy to say that it definitely works well for OctoPrint for what we're going to use it here for. It basically adds Wi-Fi connectivity and lots of features to your printer. So it basically takes your dumb printer and turns it into a smart printer with a Wi-Fi. Essentially, there's 2 things you're going to need to do. You're going to have to hook up this little guy with a micro USB to your micro USB connection on your printer so that they can communicate. And then you're going to have to give this thing power. It likes to get around 5.1 volts. And since our power supply on the machine gives out 24, we're going to need a buck converter to turn that 24 volt signal into a 5. It is very easy to do. I'll show you how to do it. All it takes is a little bit of soldering. And one other thing I want to mention is there's definitely a lot of optional things in this video. For example, one of these little OLED bonnets that attaches to the pins on top of the Zero, and I'll show you that in detail. This basically gives us a little screen with a couple of readouts from OctoPrint. It gives us some buttons we could use for different functions, things of that nature. But these pins on top are actually a really good idea. You don't have to have them, but if you do opt for the Raspberry Pi with them already, or you solder them on yourself, it gives you a bunch of really powerful things that you can do through OctoPrint. LEDs and LED control. You can add a 5-volt fan to cool down your Pi, or even to do certain things on your machine if you really wanted to. It gives you the opportunity to turn things on and off, kind of like a switch, maybe camera switches, things of that nature. There's lots and lots you can do with OctoPrint, and this being so tiny, we can hide it right there on the printer. Some people will even opt to putting it inside of some kind of casing. I like to have it on the left of my machine. I made a little adapter to hold a case, and I'm definitely going to leave this thing kind of like exposed because it's such a cute little tiny computer. It's hard to even imagine that this thing is so powerful and can do so much for our machines. So let's install OctoPrint. Let's install this on our machine. Let's get it running from our power supply, and then let's do a couple test prints right from OctoPrint and see how it does. And I'll see you right back here in a few minutes. All right, let's go. All right, so here we are at the computer. I'm going to show you how to get your Raspberry Pi SD card set up so that you can run OctoPrint on it. So here's what we do. I'm putting mine in an SD adapter and slipping it on into my machine here. I am going to be using a Mac for this particular setup, but you can use this with a PC machine. Follow the directions on this website, which is octoprint.org/download. That's where you're going to be getting all the files, and there's a how-to directly on the page. Makes it really, really easy to do. But essentially, I'm just going to show you where to download it and how to do it really quick on this particular machine. It should be really similar on a Windows machine. Essentially, when you go to octoprint.org here, you're going to see installing Octopi, and you're going to want to download Raspberry Pi Imager. The rest of this is actually done on that. So once you download Raspberry Pi Imager, it opens up like this. It's a nice little app with a few buttons. It's very easy to use. First thing you're going to want to do is we're going to get to the Wi-Fi setup, and on a Mac machine, that's done Control Shift X, and it opens these advanced options. Let me go through some of these things in here and show you how I do it, and you can choose how you would like to set it up as well. So what I like to do is I like to make this so that it always uses these settings from the top here. I set the host name to aquila.local. This is the address you're going to type into your browser, whether you're on your phone or computer or wherever you want to access OctoPrint. You're going to want to type in that address into the bar to get to OctoPrint. In this case, I made mine aquila.local. That way I can differentiate between the different types of OctoPrint that I have running. But essentially, aquila.local is just what I like to use. Then SSH, you're going to want to enable this because once your printer is set up and running and you install wherever you put the Pi, you can actually get into the command line using SSH with the password that you set here with the user called Pi. I don't want to go in too depth into that, but there's definitely some settings you can change through this without taking anything apart, without taking out your SD card once everything is installed. So you definitely want to have SSH enabled, because it gives you some options at a later time to do some maintenance and things along those lines. All right, moving right along, configure your Wi-Fi. You need this obviously for your Raspberry Pi to connect to the internet. There are ways of doing it later, like putting in the SD card into your computer, going into the config file and manually putting in the password settings, or you can do it right here and not have to worry about that. So in my case, I'm putting in my Wi-Fi and my password. Set my country, and then some local settings so that your time and things of that nature is set up correctly. And then down over here, some extra stuff. I'm just going to enable everything here. I believe this is all default. I don't want it to play any sounds. So this part is done and ready. We're going to hit save. Then let's go start from left to right. Choose the OS. Okay, so here is how you get to Raspberry Pi. It's going to give you a lot of different options here. What we're going to need to do is go to Other Specific Purpose. Then from here, we're going to select Octopi. And then we're going to select the most latest one in here, and it's that Octopi Stable. Here, we're going to choose the storage. And as you can see, it pulls up my 32 gig card. You can use a 16, that'll be fine. 32 is pretty good, 64 would be nice. That way you just don't have to worry about storage. They're really inexpensive now. I believe a 16 gig is like $3.99 and $4.99 for a 32, something along those lines. It's very affordable. So 32 seems to be pretty good. And then you hit write and you let it do its thing, and within about a minute, 2 minutes, it'll say that everything's complete and ready to go. I've already done it on this SD card, so I'm not going to hit it, but it's all done through this app. You just wait until it says that it's done and complete, and you are ready to go. All right, that's how easy it is to set up OctoPrint. So let me do this. Let me take the SD card out. Let me go ahead and put it in the machine and power it on. The Raspberry Pi, power it on with the machine, and then I'll show you how to get to it on your computer. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so essentially all I did was power on my machine because, as you saw, I'm powering it through a buck converter through the power supply on the machine, and it is giving the Raspberry Pi power. Keep in mind, right now I don't have a data cable going from the printer to the Pi. It's actually on the way right now from Amazon, and it should be here sometime today, so I'll hook that up and obviously do the prints and everything like that. But for right now, we're just getting this thing set up. You're waiting for this little LED that's on the edge of your Pi to glow solid. That's how you know OctoPrint is going to be connected and running. If you do have a different screen or something along those lines, you could actually use this mini HDMI output to set it to a screen, although I don't think you're going to be seeing much on the screens while you're booting this type of thing up without much setup. So there we go, now everything looks solid, so we're going to hop back onto the screen. So in our browser here, I'm typing in aquila.local. I'm going to give it a second to connect. And here you go. So we know that everything is now connected to OctoPrint, to a Raspberry Pi. Our Raspberry Pi is connected to the internet. And obviously you're going to get some offline errors, things of that nature, because currently the machine isn't plugged in. But otherwise, you should be able to automatically use this app. I'm not going to go into too much detail about OctoPrint itself. There's plenty of resources about OctoPrint and what it can do and how to. And if you guys need anything Aquila specific, let me know in the comments below. Let me know on Discord, and I'll be more than happy to make some content around that. But for this install, I just wanted to show you that how easy it is to get it set up and running, and everything is ready to go. Okay, now that your machine is on and everything's powered on and connected, even if your printer isn't connected to the Raspberry Pi quite yet, you can still set up Cura to be able to connect to your Raspberry Pi. And here is how you do it. So let's come over here to the screen. All right, so first thing you're gonna need for Cura is in Marketplace, you're gonna have to install OctoPrint Connection. Without this, you can't connect. So there is a place for plugins right in Cura where you can download OctoPrint Connect. Once you have it installed and you've restarted Cura, you can go to Preferences or Settings, whatever it might be called on Windows, for example. We're going to go to Printers. We're going to select our printer, which is an Aquila, and right here we're going to hit Connect OctoPrint. So right now it knows right away that there is one already on, so you don't have to type that in because it shows you the addresses. All right, so here we have to put in the API key, and so for that we're going to go into our aquila.local in this example. Let it all connect. And looks like Cura is already trying to get access to our setup here, so I'm going to hit allow. Here we go up to settings and we go to API, and there's a key here. I'm going to hit copy. Let's go back to Cura. It's already in there, but if it didn't, you can paste it in right here. So, and then we just hit, we have it start. Connect to printer before sending print. Nope. Store G-code on this. Nope. Just leave it exactly how it is right here. And we're going to hit connect. Now it's connected. Let's hit close. Now I have a benchy in here. I have my PLA profile selected. I'm going to hit slice. And you'll see a slightly different option than you normally would. There you go. And see how it says print OctoPrint. You can hit this little check mark and you can have it saved to disk if you still want to use your disk or put it on another machine. However, if you hit print OctoPrint, it will go ahead and just start printing on your machine. Right now I'm still waiting for that cable, so I'm going to go ahead and print and test this afterwards, but I'll be sure to do plenty of tests before I post any of this to make sure everything's perfectly fine. However, I've set this up many times now on different machines behind me, and this is the best and easiest way to do it. So now whenever you need anything sliced through your slicer, you can just do it right then and there, hit print, and it'll be printing on your machine. So no more flipping and flopping that little SD card. All right, I'll see you at the conclusion. We just installed a Raspberry Pi 02W onto our Aquila. This is an N32 machine. It is actually an X2, and it functions perfectly fine, and it should function on the majority of Aquilas with the non-H32 chips, because there are some issues with those. Any Ender 3s, any similar machines that run Marlin will be able to use this same setup. So that's really nice to know. It prints perfectly fine. I can get a readout for everything that I need, and probably one of the best features of using OctoPrint is the fact that you can send G-code to the machine. So you can do things like PID tuning or get things calibrated perfectly using G-code right through OctoPrint instead of using any of the onboard screens or any of the onboard firmware, because most of the time you can't really adjust some of the fine tuning, some of the more important calibrations you can't really do on these machines, because most of them are targeted towards beginners, so they're not going to be calibrating you know, every once in a blue moon trying to get their machine absolutely perfect. But if you like this setup, just know that you can send G-code to the machine to do all sorts of extremely powerful things to get a lot more information out of your machine, which is definitely one of my favorite parts. What else can I say about this little thing? It is completely worth the $15. Obviously, it's going to cost a little bit more than $15, especially if you want to do something like this. Add the little bonnet with the screen. These little things go for around $23, so definitely more than the machine. But you can use them for other projects as well, which is really cool. Locally, these things are now sold out, so if you want to find it, you're going to have to probably shop around a little bit. Like I said, the original could do OctoPrint, but not nearly as well as the 02. And people seem to be buying them up. I bought one. I should have bought more than one, but now one of my friends went to the store the day after mine and they were all gone already. So I know people are really interested in these little computers, so definitely keep an eye out. Try to get it locally if you can. Online, I have a feeling they're going to start to raise their price up a bit as the shortage continues to happen. But as of right now, you can get it from Adafruit, you can get it from Raspberry Pi themselves, and it should be around $15 because that is the MSRP. All right, so if you wanted to run OctoPrint, here's another inexpensive option, another inexpensive mod for the Aquila that turns it into really something special. Lots more features, lots of plugins. You're able to plug in LEDs and cameras and lots of different functionality, all with this tiny little computer. And I know it can be overwhelming, but as you saw, it is very easy to get the firmware up and running onto the Raspberry Pi itself. It is very easy to